What is going on, guys? The Champ Strider here, and today we're going to be diving back into Dark and Darker. What a refreshing game this is. It's like medieval Escape from Tarkov meets Dungeons and Dragons. This is my second playtest with the game, and I'm more excited for this game's full release than anything else in development. I've been playing the fighter class, so let's dive into the skill trees, abilities, and equipment so that you guys can experience the thrill of killing other teams and taking their stuff. So now let's click the class tab and head on over to the perks subsection. Now at level 15, you'll be able to choose 4 out of 7 perks to help improve your character. Now the fighter class is supposed to be kind of the melee tanky or survivable class of Dark and Darker. However, it can do a surprising amount of damage. Some of its weapons, they just really hit hard. To counter this, the fighter is pretty slow, and equipping heavy armor makes them even slower, so we want to take this into account when selecting our passive skills. I leave the default selection of Defense Expert. This grants you a bonus of 10% extra to all armor equipped, further increasing your survivability. I next equip a skill called Swift. Now, this originally reduced the speed debuffs of armor by 30% this test, but the number is now down to only 10% since it was so strong. However, I still consider this essential for running down enemies. I next equip Combo Attack, which improves damage on each strike landed within 3 seconds by 10%. This works just so well when using those arming swords or fast weapons. And now I end with a skill called Counterattack, which increases movement speed and attack speed for 3 seconds after a successful block. This is just so good for gaining more speed when rushing an archer with your shield equipped, or just gaining speed in general to implement more footwork in one-on-ones. Now there are 3 other skills, both dual wield and weapon mastery. I don't really see a reason to take these over the other skills. Now, barricade is something that increases defense while blocking, which could be useful if you plan on running shield extensively and kind of just blocking for your ranger or DPS, but I still prefer combo attack. I just think it's a more versatile and better skill. Now, if we click on over to the skills tab, you can choose 2 of 5 active skills, and there are some interesting choices to make here. However, I still think the default options are the best. On creation, your character will have sprint equipped, which drastically increases your movement speed for a short duration of time on a cooldown. This is just so essential for chasing down enemies or engaging on fights. And possibly my favorite skill in the game is Second Wind, which it's a heal over time skill that can be used once per raid. This skill is just so good during fights as you can back out, pop the heal, and then re-engage with a fresh health bar. It's also just so nice if you run out of pots or heals to have as kind of a get out of jail free card. Now, there are 3 other skills. Let's start with Taunt, which is your classic aggro PvE mob skill. I would just never run this personally. I'm here to PvP, and just the other skills offer so much utility, I can't see a reason to run it. Now, Adrenaline Rush is an interesting skill as it increases attack speed by a whopping 25% for 6 seconds, but to me, it's just not a good enough skill to take over Sprint or First Wind. Now, the last skill, though, it could be something to swap out Second Wind for if you're running in a group that's very organized, has either a cleric or campfires for healing, or you're going into raid with like 5 or so healing pots, and that's Victory Strike. Victory Strike is a guaranteed big hit with 20% added damage on your next attack. And also, if you kill the enemy, you recover some health from the blow. This skill, it's just super viable if you bring in a hard-hitting weapon like a Zweihander or Halberd, as you can one-shot a lot of enemies in the game. Now, let's just briefly talk about equipment. Now, obviously, you want to run the best armor you can, especially in the chest and helmet area, as that's where you're generally going to get hit the most, and headshots by barbs or rangers are just absolutely devastating. But there are interesting choices to be made with weapons, as some of the fast one-handed weapons and also the polearms are very good on the fighter. Now, for one-handers, I like the Arming Sword and the Falchion, and then for two-handers, the Halberd, Spear, and Bardiche are all really, really good. Long weapons are just so strong in 1v1 melee fight, but here's the thing, I found myself bringing in both the sword and shield and a polearm so that I can choose my weapons situationally. In situations where you're rushing an archer, you're basically just hoping that they miss shots, because if you rush them with the halberd and no shield, you're gonna take damage unless they're completely terrible. So I like having the shield for situations like that, or just for fights in narrow hallways where you wind up just hitting on ceiling or wall too much with the longer weapons. I would recommend running both whenever possible to just increase your chances of survival. Alright guys, that's it for me. Dark and Darker is a super early in development game that just so much more will be changing over the next year. I'll definitely be back with more content. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe.